Hello. It says we're live. I never trust it. So, and I never trust it, and I'm also trying out a new video setup and audio setup. So, thank you for joining in. While I introduce well, I am live because I can hear myself talking back on the laptop. While I talk a little bit about the plan for today, the Q&A session today, because I am using a completely new video and audio setup, if you could just spam the comment section, spam the chat in video good, audio good, just to make sure that everyone can see me and hear me properly. Hello everyone tuning in, I can already see you typing away. So today is going to be a Q&A session about industrial design. And I've asked people on Instagram to ask me some questions, and I've got some answers for those. And then the plan actually is to record everything that I've got the answers for today in this hour or so session. And then throughout the week, I can post those individual clips as individual videos, so that if you don't manage to see the whole stream or you haven't got time to watch the whole hour for all the answers, you can do so throughout the week with the different videos. So, all good. I can see that the comments are coming through. All good. That's amazing. So, let's kick it off. So, I am answering industrial design questions as an industrial designer myself. And this first question from Instagram comes from J.A. Anders. And they ask, what do you feel is the area of design that designers most neglect learning or developing? And I think that's a really interesting question. And to be honest, I think the most neglected area of design, particularly within the last few years as Instagram and social media has come to the forefront more and more, I think that design theory and design thinking has fallen by the wayside a little bit in favor of the pretty final images and the final renders that we see so much on Instagram. And I don't think anybody is to blame for that change and shift, apart from maybe Instagram itself. But I think there is a direct trend that new people coming into the industry and new people finding design for the first time sees all of the pretty images and all of the final renders and just assumes, probably, through no fault of their own, that is what design is all about. And I was lucky enough to be in design education before social media really kicked off. Instagram as a design community sort of happened while I was in my second and final year. So, for the first 2 years of university, nobody really had an Instagram presence. Instagram was still just about posting pictures of coffee with a oldie worldy filter over it. So I managed to come into design understanding that it's all about theory and thinking more so than practical skills like rendering and modeling. Now, don't get me wrong, rendering and modeling, modeling things in CAD like SolidWorks or Shaper 3D, that's really, really important skill to have as a designer. But let's not forget that they're all tools, right? It's a tool that allows you to think and to put your thoughts into a physical form. So, like an example, a carpenter, they don't learn to use a chisel or a hammer and say, I'm proficient in using a chisel and a hammer. I think designers love to use the software and the skills that they have and claim that is their skill set, when actually it's just a tool that allows you to think and to put your thought process out into the real world. So I think, to come back to the question, which was what skill do designers neglect, it's all about theory. It's all about understanding thought process, understanding the theory of design, and also the theory of design that relates to business as well. I think this is like a part B to the answer. if I've said that part A, the answer is we neglect theory. Part B to that is that designers do not see themselves as part of a business. And I think business for designers needs to be taught more in university and in school. I was never really taught, or I never really paid attention to the business side of things, and I think that's negatively impacted me after I've graduated myself. The fact that, oh no, the camera's out of focus. Am I in focus? The fact that I'm on manual focus, so I think I need to sit about, I'm focused it on this. So if I sit in line with that, I should be in focus. Also, I think the camera is only in 1080p, not 4K, which I normally post in. Anyway, that's all by the by. So I hope the video quality is good enough if I sit about here. Anyway, the point is that business and designers need to understand their role in companies as a whole, businesses as a whole. Throughout design education, students need to take on the whole mantra of every single employee of a business, through design research and, going out and interviewing people, business decisions like, this group of research said this group of research said this, so I'm deciding to go down this route. Money elements in terms of, R&D, in university, a design student is a whole company in one. And when you graduate, it's not like that. There are different teams for different things, and depending on the size of the company. Sorry, I'm just being distracted. Not distracted, but I'm just double checking if the video is okay for everyone. Because, like I said, I'm trying out a new setup, and if it's not great, then maybe I need to go to the old setup. But let me know. Because I can maybe stop the stream and go to just using the webcam. I've set up my Sony camera as a webcam for the first time, just to try and get a bit more professional vibe going on. But if it's not working out, it's not working out. Anyway, so with all that being said, I think there's a lot to learn in terms of the theory and the business side of it. Now, I understand completely that the business and the theory side is a lot dry. It's very dry compared to the fun, exciting, shiny renders that we see on Instagram. And I really believe that that's why Instagram favors the renders so much, because it is so shiny and exciting to see all the concepts. Nobody's really thought of a good way to show theory and thought process visually online yet. So I understand the algorithms push more visual things and all of that. So I understand that might be why people only see the shiny things and think that is what design is. And in terms of going out and finding more things to do about business and theory, obviously reading is a good thing. So Dan Norman's The Design of Everyday Things. That's a book 101 to read. Disability Meets Design is another book that I loved reading. It has a lot about glasses and how glasses wearers over the years have changed from being prescribed these glasses that were funded in the UK on the NHS, and you got to choose just that one pair, and they were given to you, and then over time they become a status symbol and a fashion symbol, and it was a really interesting book. So you can learn more about theory through traditional reading like that. There are also pages like The Future, which is slightly more digital design based and graphic design based, but you can check out a lot of business and theory things on that channel as well. So that's The Future without the E on the end. It's just the Future. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. And if you want to become a more rounded designer as a whole, then becoming more versed in business and theory is really going to help out with that. Cool. Let's move on to the next question. And I'm just double checking. I think the video's okay. Okay, that's good. I'm going to be open with everyone. I'm just trying out new things, trying out new tech setups. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm just making it up as I go along. So if I don't do something right, it's great that everyone's telling me. Let's move on to the next question. Let's take a sip of water. After doing all of these sessions, I really respect teachers and lecturers. I really, really, I always have, but after trying to talk like this for an hour or an hour or two after these YouTube sessions normally, it's difficult to talk, raising your voice so that people can hear you, and continuing that non-stop for an hour. And teachers and lecturers that do that all day, every day, wow, like huge respect. I find it really difficult. So I'm just going to take a sip of water while I look at the next question. Hopefully that wasn't too close to the microphone and that didn't weird everyone out. Okay, this next question comes from Kirk is Kirk on Instagram. And they ask, I just got accepted into ID, Industrial Design. Are there any tips for what I should really focus on? So I guess that means like Industrial Design at university. If so, that's great. Congratulations on being accepted. I don't know how it works at other universities, but my first year, I went to a university in the UK called Brunel University, London. And in the first year, the way that they grade, the way that you get graded, all of the grades in the first year of university do not count at all to your final grade that you graduate with. And I personally think I still want to, there's still obviously everyone trying to impress everyone else and trying to do the best they can and trying to learn more about design and get good grades. Still, that still does happen. But I think I was still trying to play by the rules a little bit too much, and not playing by the rules, but playing by the mark scheme too much in the first year, and ticking the boxes of just, okay, the mark scheme says do this, so I'm going to do that. What would have been more useful, I think, is to just experiment more and try different crazier things, and just really push the boat out in terms of what I was comfortable with and what the marks were comfortable with, the grade system. Because, you still have to pass. You still have to pass that year, but any of your grades do not count towards the final year. I don't know if other universities do that. I don't know if other universities have that type of system. But if yours does, then I would definitely recommend just trying absolutely everything you can, trying lots of different design styles, just really pushing the boat out. And if it doesn't work, fine. You learned something and you learned why it didn't work. I think that would be really, really useful. But apart from that, just absorb everything. I think something that will come with time and that you probably won't have when you start out. I didn't have it when I started out. A lot of my classmates didn't have it when we started out. Was design sensibility and a design language and a maturity of your design thinking. You won't have that. Pretty much fact. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get one now. Like, by design sensibility, what I mean is you can take on the theory and you can take on the current market and you can take on, the trends that are existing now and the company brand values that you're designing for, and they all go into a mixing pot, and that starts to inform the design decisions. It's the reason why Porsche cars look different to BMW cars. Their design sensibilities are different. Their design ethos is different. And you will just be bouncing around lots of different design styles when you first start out. I can always tell a student that's just finished their first year of university, because there's always a project inspired by streamlining from the 1950s. Like the making trains look like they go faster with swooping curves and long elongated forms. the 50s Art Deco streamlining type thing. And it's nice to see, it's nice to see that the people are learning about the history of design and, these design movements that we had, and they're being influenced by those. But they're always very on the nose. They're always very like for like. These projects that I see in first year students' portfolios, and the design sensibility, the design thought has not quite matured yet. Which is that the whole point is I'm saying that's acceptable because it's your first year of university. Explore that, lean into it and explore more. And just know that your design language, your design style will appear later on. So I think the answer to the question is what should you focus on in industrial design school? Just everything. Focus on just learning as much as you can and just absorbing knowledge from left, right, and center of all aspects of design, because they will all inform your design ethos later down the line. So yeah, I hope that helps. Congratulations in getting accepted into university. Have fun with it, and I think you're going to have a really great time. Okay, moving on to the next question is, let's see here. The next question comes from, wait, did I get a next question? I must have. I've chosen a few from Instagram, but I don't know if I took the right screenshots or not. The next question comes from Manuel, and Manuel on Instagram asks, any time management tips? And I don't know, like I've always managed to get the most out of my day, but I've never really subscribed to, like, there are always tips and tricks. Like there's something called the Pomodoro technique, which is, I can't even remember what the technique is, but work for 20 minutes and then take a 5-minute break. And then the next 20 minutes, you'll be more productive because of that 5-minute break. And then do, rinse and repeat and just carry on. I've never been strict about that type of thing, but maybe I do that subconsciously anyway. I don't know how honest I should be here, but I recently got told off at work because sometimes I can be seen scrolling my phone every so often, too much, and that's fair comment from them. I hold my hands up. I'm not debating that at all, but maybe I have this this notion of grazing at work, so not being like really focused for hours on end and then take a break. I personally, the way that I like to work is work for a little bit, and then while the computer loads doing something, whether SolidWorks is thinking about something for a little bit, scroll on my phone, and that mental break lets me then go back into the work when it's finished loading, only 20 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that. And then I can carry on working again. I'm not advocating for that. That sort of stuff will get you in trouble with your employer. But I think that this kind of Pomodoro technique of taking a break every now and again, that's like really allowed, I think, and that really helps. While I was in university, the thing that I found really helpful was power naps. So I read somewhere that NASA's astronauts recommend that a power nap should last 20 minutes and no longer, because after those 20 minutes, you start to fall into a deeper sleep. And, if we're talking about sleep cycles, you don't want to try and wake up from a deep sleep. So 20 minutes is just enough time for you to start to drift off and get rest, but then you wake up with an alarm more naturally. And then they recommend that you have a shot of coffee, not after the nap, but before the nap. And I still do this to this day, on weekends and stuff especially. So the shot of coffee is obviously going to wake you up, but the hit of the hit of caffeine isn't going to affect you, isn't going to kick in until 20 minutes time. So if you're having a coffee, the caffeine takes about 20 minutes to kick in. And then, you have your nap in that 20-minute period. The caffeine starts to kick in, your alarm goes off, and all of a sudden you're already awake and you can head on back to work. And while I was in university, working from my hall's dormitory just room, the bed was there, the desk was there. I'd go for a 20-minute nap, wake up, jump over to the desk and start work literally straight away. Like there's no waking up and roaming around feeling groggy. It was just instant. That's kind of been the same as what we're all doing, I guess, now in 2020 and 2021, working so close to where we sleep. So that's a long answer to say that I take power naps a lot. In terms of staying focused and in terms of like getting the most out of your day, I really like to fool my brain into thinking that I'm procrastinating and really fool my brain into thinking that I'm getting stuff done that I shouldn't need to. You know what I mean? Like there's something about procrastination that is a relaxing sort of like guilty pleasure that you're relaxing when you shouldn't really be doing that. But what I do is I do some work that is adjacent to the work that I should be doing, right? So if I should be designing and I just end up procrastinating doing something, I normally fill that time with something else that is still productive but not really. So I still get the hit of a guilty pleasure of procrastinating, but I'm actually getting stuff done. So an example of that would be YouTube, Instagram and YouTube, where I kind of turned that into a part-time job, and I get the sensation of if I'm watching YouTube or if I'm making YouTube or scrolling Instagram or posting to Instagram, it's kind of this hit of guilty pleasure for not doing real work, but then I'm also getting stuff done, and I can take that forward and it becomes a part-time job as well. So I think all of that is to say that you can just graze at work. So don't sit down and think that you have to really work, otherwise you won't get anything done. Take the pressure off and you graze, relax a little bit, work, relax a little bit, and then just if you feel like you should be doing something else, or you feel like you want a bit of a break from your main work, think about what might be relaxing but also productive at the same time. That's what I do. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. How to get better at time management is to just nap. That's one of the answers. Sleep. How to get better at time management? Sleep. I think the bigger picture, larger picture here is allow yourself to relax and allow yourself to rest and be properly rested so that you can then be more productive later on. I hope that's a good answer. I think I need to take that on board myself as well, because I'm always working these days. I'm working on my full-time job, and I'm working on YouTube, and working on Instagram. I'm always working, so maybe I need to grant myself the allowance to rest as well. So, but yeah, thank you very much for your question. Those 3 questions were the only ones that I screenshotted, captured from Instagram, because I'm wondering if anyone that's live watching now, there's about, I think 70 people watching. How many people are watching? I can't see. But anyone in the chat, if you've got any questions that you'd like me to go through, please let me know. I can head back into Instagram and see if there's any more that we'd like to answer. I put myself on airplane mode so I didn't get interrupted. Let's see. So the plan, like I said, is for us to record all of these questions and answers now, and we're going to have a great time in the chat in a minute when people start asking questions. And then I'm going to repost all of these as individual clips onto the YouTube account later on. So if you don't have time to watch the whole chat, then you can look at the individual clips later on. There are a couple questions coming in, so I don't think I should go through the Instagram ones now, seeing as people are here wanting to know answers right now. Let's see. How often, okay, this one comes from Jantus1000. How often, so yeah, this is a good question. How often do you build things and prototype things in real life and do physical prototyping? As often as possible. And I think that's a really great question, because as designers, as industrial designers, we are designing things for the real world, for the physical items that we are designing for the real world. And there is no substitute for getting your hands on something and seeing, how it interacts with, how heavy is it, how light is it, how big is it, what's the texture like. That's really, really important to get right. And as part of our job, we need to care about those things. So I think I personally like to make prototypes as much as possible. Normally, I start out with really rough prototypes, whether it's just made out of cardboard or, things found around the home that are a similar size and shape. That really helps as well. I was working on a project recently, and I realized that, it's difficult while I'm at home here to make prototypes and to make, things that we can tell what size they are. And I realized that a mop bucket that I had was a similar size and shape to the design that we were working on. Not exactly the same, but enough for me to look at it and at least understand in 3D space where things will go. And, pick it up, hold it, okay, button can go here, flip it upside down, ports, whatever can go on the bottom. And you can start to understand like what makes sense for this size and shape. So it doesn't have to be we have different levels of prototyping in industrial design. Like whether it's just a vague household object that vaguely looks like or is the same sort of size, to a paper model that you've crafted to be more accurate, and then we move into we call one type of prototype a looks like, and then the other type a works like. Now a looks like model is it looks like what it will look like in the end. So all of the paint finishes are correct. The materials, you try and get them as close as possible. It becomes like a film prop of what the object might look like. And you can even do things like adding in weights and sand or steel ball bearings to make it feel like it's the same weight as well. That's really, really quite useful. So that all falls under a looks like model. Then what we have is called a works like model. And that is essentially all of the electronics, all of the mechanisms, all of the components prototyped together. But overall, it doesn't look anything like the final thing. Like it might be just a bunch of electronics in a Perspex clear box. And you push a button here, and then something happens over there, and it just works the way that the final thing will work. And you can do that even with stuff like breadboards. You don't have to solder anything together. You just get in electronics. It's called a breadboard, where you just plug in different wires, and then you can plug in other components without needing to solder or anything. They look ugly. They're never going to be used in a real product, but being able to get a works-like model is really going to help as well. So I think to answer the question, how often do you build a physical prototype? The answer is as often as you can. As often as you can, to understand different things at different times of the design process. You're not going to try and do a looks-like model really early on in the design process, because they're very expensive to do. If you're trying to use all the correct materials, all of the correct weights, you have to try and machine different parts, injection mold some parts with one-off moldings that cost a lot of money, because you're not getting a lot of volume out of it, just the one. So you're never going to do a looks like model really early on. Early on, you're going to be having the mop bucket that looks vaguely the same size, moving on to a paper model, moving on to maybe then a 3D printed version. And as you move along the process, with every new step, with every new stage, you're going to be getting a new prototype made to solidify what you thought it might. Any changes that you made from the phase before until now, you need to retest that. You need to re-prototype it to see that you're still going on the right track. And obviously, as you get more and more further down, and the fidelity gets higher and higher, the cost gets higher and higher as well. So at that point, you make maybe fewer models as you go, and then it might be a couple of months in between two looks like models, or maybe like 6 months in between two looks like models, because you kind of have that buildup of knowledge as you go along, and the cost by that point, like if you're making like a chair, if you're making a TV stand or something, I don't know, I'm just looking around the room, but if you're making something that will eventually be mass produced, and you're starting to get to the point where it's using the correct materials, the correct manufacturing processes, then they're going to be very expensive to build one-offs. So it gets fewer and fewer as time goes on, but then it starts to fade more into manufacturing prep and using the correct tools even. So if we say that a works like is just how it works but doesn't look anything like it, a looks like looks exactly like it, but it might have been made in a model workshop, a model maker's workshop, like a film prop. And then the next stage after that is, okay, how are these actually being tooled? How are these actually running down the manufacturing factory line? And that's going to fade into just finally becoming the product. So yeah, thank you very much for your question on how often do you make physical prototypes, and the answer is as many as I can, as often as I can. Cool. Any more questions? I think there's been a few coming in. Thank you all for hanging out. This is when I have to read before. This one's rude. It's not rude. Why Brunel? I don't think it's the best university for industrial design. Did you do a master's? Brunel is a very prestigious university. It's going through a lot of changes currently, with certain staff leaving and certain staff coming in. And universities across the world always have staff leaving and staff joining. And it's an ongoing, flowing of people, personnel, staff, lecturers, and students. When I was there, Brunel was and it still is an amazing university for industrial design. It is very specialist in industrial design in that that's what the university is known for, is design and engineering. It's a design and engineering university, really. And since I've left, or even while I was there, certain people have left, certain lecturers have left, and maybe that's, I haven't been back. I haven't seen what's going on now, how satisfied the students are anymore. But it is a different university with a different teaching staff compared to what I had when I was there. Coming up to 4 years ago now, 4 years ago. I didn't do a master's degree. I did it was an undergraduate degree. And I still think that Brunel is an amazing university. There are normally, 5 or so universities in the UK that I always hear people are from, and I can know already that they've had a great design education. That is off the top of my head, I'm probably going to leave some out. And if I leave your university out, I don't think that it's a bad university. It just it doesn't spring to mind right now. Don't forget, I've only ever been to one university, Brunel. So the fact that I know about any other universities at all these days is astounding, I think. So Brunel is always up there with great graduates. And I think the thing that Brunel is always top for, along with Loughborough University in the UK is always top for this, is employability. And that's probably the most important aspect there is. So employability, meaning that the thought process has been taught, the willingness to learn more things and to take on board more things has been taught and has been understood. I think that's really useful as well. So Brunel, Loughborough, Northumbria, where else? Central St Martin's, and the Royal College of Art for masters. I'm sure there are more. I know there are more. But there's, they seem to be the top that I always see applicants from. So, I'm proud that I went to Brunel University London. I'm proud of what they're achieving now with different staff. It's always going to be different when leads, heads of departments leave. And I think they're doing a great job of building a new design department after the original cohort of staff that had been there for a very long time, ended up leaving, retiring, and all of that. And now they are literally starting a new, from what I can tell from the outside looking in, they're pairing up a lot more with the digital design course, which I think is great, the UX design course, and I think it's a really well-rounded approach to be able to do that. Why did I personally go to Brunel? On the applicant day, on the open day, when I went to go and visit the campus, the workshops reminded me of the workshops that I used to have at my old secondary school, and it felt like home. That's probably the most important thing that you can possibly do, is to go somewhere that feels like you belong and feels like you fit in and feels like it's the right place for you. I did go and interview at Loughborough University as well. Very shiny campus. It was brand new when I went there. Very shiny, very classy, very grand. And then I went to Brunel a few weeks later. The workshops were a little bit older. The machines were a little bit older, but it felt like home. And that's why, and I still say that now. I enjoy going back. I've been invited back a few times to go and give lectures or go and be a judge on a sketching challenge, which is always fun. And if that opportunity ever comes up again, I will be absolutely heading back there because I love the university. So that is to answer why Brunel. Let's see, any more questions? Some of these questions are long. I'm reading a paragraph. Let's see. How did the gantry relationship begin? Were you contacted or did I propose first? That's a great question. Simple one to answer. I was at the right place at the right time. I posted originally some designs to Instagram where they were just my own lighting designs, and I was like, hey, I've just spent an evening playing around and did some renders, and just I didn't think much of it, didn't think much of them, just a bit of fun. Posted to Instagram. It was before all of the weekly design challenges and all that. Before all that, I'm showing my age now. But in the comment section of that Instagram post, another designer commented saying, hey, these lighting designs look like they could be part of Gantry's collection, if you want to go and check them out. And I'd never heard of Gantry before, never heard of them as a company. They had a few lights, launched by that time, I think they only had like one page of lights on their website. And now they have, 4 or 5 pages. And I went on their website and had a look, and it said, we are looking for collaborators. I thought, great, I'm looking for a collaboration. So it was literally a button on their website I don't know if it was on the front page, but further along, it said, if you're a designer, click this link and let's do something. So I was in the right place, the right time. I sent over the designs that I posted to Instagram, and they were like, "Great, yeah, we can tell that you are a designer that knows similar, that knows a bit about lighting and its effects. So yeah, let's do something." And that's where it came from. I since then, you can tell that their application process has become completely different. You have to be invited. I've already invited a friend of mine. They're developing the light. And I get messages all the time saying, can I have an invite to Gantry? Can I have an invite to design on Gantry? And you need to understand that they're just a small company. They employ a certain number of people. But they have a team of engineers that works with the designers that apply, that submits ideas, and they don't have the resources to be able to just have everyone make a light, which is a shame. I think it'd be great for everybody to have that opportunity, but as more and more people, as Gantry gets larger and as more and more people will want to apply. That's going to prove, I hope, that there is a market out there for these collaborative design companies that can give an opportunity to new people, more and more people. Gantry maybe has the lighting market cornered, and that's their thing. But what if there's a furniture company that does it? What if there's a chair company, seating company? I don't know. Like, there must be more companies out there that I hope will start now, after seeing the success of Gantry, to offer more and more people different avenues of design. But yeah, that's how it started. I was just in the right place, right time. Big button on their website saying apply now to design. I don't think they have that button anymore. So next question. Thank you very much for your question. I'm going to go on to a new one. Let's see. Don't forget, everyone, if you have a question, put it in the comments section. This is, I struggle reading while I'm presenting as well. That's the issue. What skill? This is a good one from Design with Piyush. I'm really bad with names. I'm sorry about that. You can tell me off for pronouncing that wrong. I'm really sorry. But thank you very much for tuning in. Which skill is more important, digital or hand rendering? So as an industrial designer, we often have the choice to sketch things out with pen and paper or work it up into computer programs like SolidWorks and then put it into something like KeyShot to render. Both are very different, but essentially it's to try and get your idea out into a physical form so you can look at it instead of being in your head, and so that other designers can look at it as well. And I'll be honest, I think the most that I use in my day-to-day job is hand sketching and hand renderings, but not like you might think that you see on Instagram. They are always very rushed and very I'll do an example of something that a designer might sketch and show it up. If I get a fresh sheet of paper here, just double check that it's fresh and not got some work on it. Yep, that's fresh. So I don't even know what to draw. I'm going to draw something. This is very similar to what I might show someone in my team. I don't even know what I'm drawing, but actually I don't know if you'll be able to see it because I haven't got autofocus in the camera anymore. But if I fill a page with something like this, and maybe there's a square one, while designers are talking to designers, there is no point whatsoever spending time on a sketch where, you know, you can look at something and just understand it as a creative to a creative. I think that's the fastest way to do it. So I think first off, start with sketching. Always, if you're a student, if you're a new designer, if you're any designer of any age, start off with sketching. Start off with, you know, just doodle, like we call them like napkin sketches. That's what they are, really. I don't know if you can see it, if it's in focus or not. But napkin sketches like this are the bread and butter of design. Anything that you see on Instagram, anything that you see a beautifully rendered, whatever, I don't know, car, then that's always for clients. It's always for clout, because clients can't, you know, we can't show this type of thing to a client, you know, just a box with a squiggle on it. We can't show that to a client and say, this is the design concept, that'll be £20,000, please. You know, that's impossible. So you have to work it up to a certain level for them to be able to understand it, because they're maybe not creative or not speaking the same design language as us. So absolutely, I would definitely say sketch first. That is the most important thing. If you want to look at rendering later on, then fine. That's fun, and I find it fun, but it's not as important as design like that. That being said, I do love to use Keyshot throughout the design process, all the way through, but I do that after I've sketched and made sure that it's the right sort of idea. And I use Keyshot as an iterative process where I will see how different lighting environments affect the surfacing, affect, you know, where do these shadows land? You know, what about in this type of room? What about if it's in a, you know, studio? I think that's important to do, for me at least. But rendering something like that in Keyshot will never solve a user issue. Like, it will never solve a usability issue. Whereas, you know, prototyping, model making, sketching, going through ideas really quickly, you will be able to solve user issues with that. So yeah, don't forget that rendering and all the pretty fancy stuff is only really once you've addressed the issue and addressed the problem by sketching and prototyping and stuff as you go through as well. And on that question, there's sort of a B question here. If I'm saying that sketching is really important and, you know, that's what you need to be able to talk with other designers, talk with clients, show your ideas. The next question here is, what is my favorite ballpoint pen? That comes from Victor. I just use these Bics. I think it's a Bic. Yeah, these just cheap Bics. That's the answer. I don't have a specific preference. If I want to get fancy, I will look for a Muji ballpoint pen or something like that. But that's only if I want to feel bougie. Yeah, Muji for when I feel bougie. But apart from that, just a Bic. Anything, you know, as long as you're making marks on the paper, that's fine. That's plenty. The pen that I use most of all time probably is the Apple Pencil, but that's different. You know, that's every single pen in one. You know, that's a brush, that's a pen, that's a pencil. So there's probably no doubt why I use that so often. It's just everything, all in one. Okay. So I think we have about 10 minutes left. I'll do this for about an hour, and then, like I said, I think I'm recording this so I can upload everything as individual. You know, each answer can be individual answers on the channel later on. So 10 minutes left. If you've got any questions now, get them in the comments. Let's get a frenzy going to try and get as many questions as we can. An update from Victor. I dislike Bic. Oh, no. How come you don't like Bic? They're smooth, they're reliable. But one of my earliest design education memories is my design teacher at A level. I've studied design since before GCSE level. I've been really lucky that all of my schools have offered it. But for A level, my teacher spent a good half an hour describing how impeccably immaculate the design of a Bic pen is, to like the construction of a pen, of a ballpoint pen, is that there's a ball bearing captured within a metal sleeve, captured within this tip, and ink is collected by that ball and is then rolled around in the sleeve, and that, as you write, it rolls around. But to get the tolerances of a Bic pen, it's mind-boggling how narrow the tolerances need to be so that that ball bearing in the tip writes but isn't loose, but moves around freely. And normally in manufacturing, if you need tolerances that close, like, that's probably microns of a tolerance, millimeters, and a tolerance is how far can a measurement be out before it doesn't work anymore. And in manufacturing, in laptops, in any consumer electronics, a tolerance of 0.2 millimeters is, probably fair enough. 0.3 millimeters, yeah, that's going to line up. But for a Bic pen, the tolerances would be astoundingly expensive for something like a laptop. It would make a laptop incredibly expensive. And a Bic pen does it for like 90 pence for a pack of 100. Like, it's just mind-boggling how well put together these things are. And one of my earliest memories is my design teacher talking to us for a long time about how much he loved that idea of immaculate tolerance level design for an incredibly cheap product. It's astounding. Anyway, so that's probably why I love Bic, because my teacher just told me to love Bic from an early age. Okay, sometimes they clog, maybe sometimes, yeah. Let's see. Okay, this from Tam. Hello, thank you for joining in. What advice would you give to someone who wants to become an industrial designer but can't afford to go back to school, and there's no industrial design in the country? That's a very good question. It's difficult. For some reason, industrial design, there's not a lot of stuff online for it. Whereas something like graphic design and things that use digital aspects are very much more accessible because of the nature of the job. There's some great classes on Skillshare. I'm still sponsored by Skillshare, although I haven't advertised it in a very long time. But I can get anyone two free weeks if you want to learn some classes from Skillshare. Julia Troy has a class on design sketching. And I think you need to look, like, answering one of my earlier questions is it's going to be a lot about design theory that you need to pick up on. And I wonder if I can see the book from here. If I can't see the book, I can't really get it. Oh yeah, I can see it. Bear with me 2 seconds. This book is great. The Design of Everything, the Design of Everyday Things by Donald A. Norman. That's a great book, and if you want to get into industrial design, I thoroughly recommend reading that. I've already recommended this in the stream today, but I've actually, I didn't go and get it the first time around. The book is getting on a bit now. It's fairly old. When was it first printed? I don't know. 1998. And a lot has changed since 1998. First edition 1988. I don't know. Anyway, that's a great book. I'm getting distracted by the book. But look, you can learn things on Skillshare. What I'm trying to do with this channel is to try and make industrial design accessible. It's a strange industry that relies on a lot of professions all coming together into one, and I think that's what separates it slightly from something like graphic design and digital design, where we're encroaching. As we're in an industry that encroaches on manufacturing and engineering, and that's a whole industry in itself. So to be a single, like a industrial designer on your own is not really possible. You to become an industrial designer, you almost need a framework around you of engineers, manufacturing experts, all of that. So I get that it's difficult, especially in this day and age, like 2020 and 2021, to get into that world. And what I'm trying to do with this channel is open that up a little bit. I'm not an expert in manufacturing, in engineering, in anything like that. But I'm trying. So I think there are things out there, and you can look at different educational channels that are industrial design parallel, like digital design, like graphic design, and you can learn about being a creative from those. And again, I'll mention there's the Future with without the E on the end. There's Flux, Charlie Marie TV. She has a great digital design and UX channel on YouTube. So if you follow those and take those on board, then you can apply it to products and physical things in the same way that they are applying the knowledge to digital things. The tricky bit then comes in changing that from a concept that you've done to then becoming manufacturable, and you really need to be designing it to be manufacturable from the start. So you need that manufacturing process knowledge before you even start designing. And I get that digital designers have the same thing, where they, a graphic designer that's doing an interface, an app interface, needs to know a bit about the development process and being an app developer, so that they can talk and do, and pass it on to the next team. But I just think making something physical with manufacturers, for some reason, to me, feels like there's a higher barrier of getting into that world, and I try to figure out how that barrier can be lowered pretty much daily. I really struggle to think, like, how can we lower that threshold of understanding to educate more people and to welcome more people into industrial design. That's something that I ask myself all the time. So anyway, that's a long question, a long answer to answer the question. How can you get into industrial design? Read lots. Look at other channels. Look at other different creative fields and their classes and their educational content, and apply it to the creative field that you want to apply it to. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for your question. I think we will do one more question, because then it is 6 o'clock and that is the hour. So let's see. I'm just flicking through the questions now to see if we've got any more that I've missed. I mean, there's plenty that I've missed. There's some big questions in here that I think deserve their own video, and I'm just trying to find a video. I'm just trying to find a question that we can answer in a few minutes or so, instead of needing a whole video. Oh, Victor, this is my own personal merchandise. You're asking about the crew neck that I'm wearing, the jumper. You can buy this on my Teespring page on YouTube. It should be below the video somewhere. But I have a bunch of merchandise if you'd like to check that out. This is very comfy, and I wear it in most of the videos that I wear. So yeah, let's just look for one more question. Glenn, you've asked a question that I think I've answered earlier in the video about my first year of education. I answered that earlier on, and the benefit is I'm putting all of these individual answers to individual questions as separate videos on my channel later on. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's a good question from Amana. I'm so sorry with pronouncing names. So let me know if I've pronounced that really wrong. But hi, Sam. I'm worried I will struggle to get a job after university because I lack making skills as the university workshops have been closed for a while. Any advice you can give? I feel your pain. I miss workshops so much. But I don't think you need to be a maker to be a designer. I think you need, it helps to know how things are made. And it helps, you know, if whatever job you go to has a workshop, chances are they will have workshop technicians and model makers that are employed for that to be their full-time job. Some of the bigger design consultancies in the UK have specific workshop model making teams where the designers will send stuff over and they will get made. So that's not to say that you don't need to know how things are made. You do need to know how things are made both in the workshop for a prototype level and how things are made for mass production and you know, manufacturing properly. You need to know both, but I really do not worry about it. Don't worry about the fact that you haven't made stuff physically in a workshop. If it really depends on what type of job you want to go into. If you wanted to go into model making and in the workshop of a company, then you might need to spend some time, once this is all over, doing an internship to try and get those skills and bring those skills up to scratch for the time that has missed. But if you wanted to go more into design consultancy or design in-house, I think that the opportunities for making things reduce. You could maybe make some foam models, some paper models, and things like that. But if you start to get to the root, like I mentioned earlier on, about a looks like model, I'm 90% sure that they will either have their own department that employs people to do that, or they will employ a separate company, model makers, to get those models made for you. So do not worry that you haven't been in the workshop. Everybody's unfortunately in the same boat. I missed the workshop of university a lot, and I can't wait to get back into a workshop. There's actually a communal workshop close to where I live, where I'm planning on visiting once everything is opened up again. But yeah, don't worry about it. There's no right or wrong way to do any of this. I think you can play to your strengths for the job that you want to apply for, and there will be people to make models that have been doing it for a long time and employed by the people by the companies that make models. So yeah, I think you've got nothing to worry about is what I'm saying. Take it easy. Don't worry about the skills that you're not getting, and apply for the jobs that really cater towards your skill level. So that's been an hour. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. I'm throwing this book around like a prop now. I'm going to put it down. It's been a long time since I've been on YouTube. I've been doing a lot of work on my day job, my full-time job. I've been committing to that more. I've been working on myself, as I'm sure a lot of people are, during these crazy times. Just need some time to myself. But I think these types of videos I really enjoy doing, and the plan now is to put each of the individual answers onto YouTube as separate videos. So that's more content for the next few weeks. So over the next few weeks, if you missed any of the start of the stream, or you wanted to hear more answers or re-hear an answer, look out for those videos. So I guess I will sign off. Thank you so much for all of your questions. Keep a lookout for the other questions that I post with the answers soon. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe. And if you learned anything in the video, do let me know down in the comments below, because I really enjoy hearing about it. And as always, I will see you all on the next video. Bye. Cool. I just said that little bit to sign off for everybody when I do the edits of the individual videos, but now I'm going to sign off to all of you. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. All the comments here, it's really made my afternoon to hang out with everyone, and I hope I've given you someone to hang out with as well. So we will do this soon. Maybe we'll do it weekly. I don't know if I can commit to that yet, but it's been fun, and I will catch you all soon. Thank you all. Bye.